The galaxy trembles. The galaxy was not silent, it shook with fear. Rumors traveled faster than light, carrying whispers of a new enemy fleet. It was said to be larger than any armada ever seen, darker than the void itself, and more ruthless than the storms of dead suns. No star system was safe. No colony felt strong enough to resist. Everywhere leaders trembled. The council of many races sat in their tall towers. Speaking in hushed tones, each alien delegate spoke of destruction, of lost worlds, of burning skies. Whole planets had fallen in days, their defenses shattered like glass before the fleet's power. Armies that once marched proudly, now scattered. Like dust, the fleet was not just strong, it was merciless. They spared no one, not the young, not the old, not even the innocent. Their ships moved like shadows across the stars, black blades cutting through light. Each victory brought more fear, and each loss left the galaxy weaker. The people had seen wars before, but never like this. This was something new, something terrifying. On mining stations, workers stopped their drills, listening to faint signals of distress. On farming moons, families held each other as skies turned red with incoming fire. Even the hardened mercenaries who once laughed at danger now avoided the regions where the fleet had passed. Fear was everywhere, like a disease in the air. The galaxy had been arrogant once, believing peace would last, believing that no enemy could truly threaten so many united worlds. But this fleet shattered that illusion. It moved like a predator through a herd, and the herd scattered, no one knowing where to run. Some begged for mercy, others tried to fight, but none survived. In the great halls of the Interstellar Council, silence ruled. Their maps glowed with red, marking lost sectors. The enemy was closer each day. The council argued. Some called for surrender, others demanded stronger fleets. But deep inside, everyone knew the truth. Their fleets were not enough. Their weapons could not hold. Their courage was already breaking. And yet, in the darkest corners of space, whispers rose. There was talk of a world that had not yet spoken, a planet hidden far from the council's pride, a world small in politics but strange in history, a planet called Earth. Many dismissed it, saying humans were too few, too untested, too weak. But others remembered something different. There were stories of humans who survived on death worlds, of humans who turned storms into shelters and deserts into farms, tales of warriors who fought not with numbers, but with a fire in their hearts. Still, these were only stories, and the council laughed at them once, but now, when the stars burned with enemy fire, even foolish stories seemed like hope. The enemy fleet grew closer, 1,000 ships strong, their hulls blackened with scars of conquered worlds. They did not slow, they did not rest. They moved with purpose. Soon they would reach the central systems. Soon the galaxy's beating heart would be torn apart. In villages across alien worlds, children asked questions their parents could not answer. Who will save us, they asked. Where will we run, they begged. The parents held them close, but their eyes were empty. For the first time in living memory, no one had an answer, me. Fear was not just in the stars. It was in every breath, in every corner. It was in the silence after the news of another fallen colony. It was in the shaking hands of generals. It was in the quiet tears of rulers who had no power to protect their people. And so the galaxy trembled. Not from storms, not from nature, but from the shadow of one unstoppable fleet. And as the stars dimmed under its approach, one question grew louder, echoing in every world, every station, every ship. Would anyone rise to fight them? Or would the galaxy fall into silence forever? Whispers of Earth. The council chamber was heavy with silence. The air was thick, filled with the weight of fear and hopelessness. Delegates of powerful races looked at each other, their eyes dim. Their fleets were broken, their defenses scattered, and still the enemy advanced. Then, in a corner of the chamber, an old alien delegate whispered a name. It was soft, almost like a prayer. Earth, he said. Some turned toward him with confusion, others with disbelief. A few laughed bitterly. Humans, they thought, were insignificant. a young race barely scratching the stars. What could Earth do against such a storm? But the whisper grew. Other delegates began to speak the word, Earth. It spread like fire, quiet but steady. They remembered stories told in old meetings, stories of humans who fought against odds, stories of humans who never bent, who never broke. On distant worlds, refugees carried the same whispers. Go to Earth, they said. Humans are strange. They do not surrender. Nobody knew where these words began, but they traveled fast. The more hopeless the galaxy felt, the stronger the whispers became. To many, Earth was still a mystery. Humans had joined the council. Late. They did not have vast empires. They did not have fleets stretching across the stars. Their homeworld was not a jewel of riches or ancient knowledge. Yet there was something about them that made others uneasy. Some remembered battles in the past, small but fierce, where humans fought with a fire that seemed unnatural. Even when surrounded, even when broken, they fought on. Unlike others who surrendered when the battle was lost, humans became more dangerous. They were called stubborn, reckless, even foolish. But in dark times, stubbornness looked like strength. Inside Earth's orbit, things were different. The planet was quiet. No grand fleets patrolled its skies. No massive stations circled its moon. To outsiders, it seemed undefended, almost careless, as if humanity had no fear at all. This made the whispers even stranger. Why would Earth remain calm when others were breaking apart? A delegation was sent to Earth. They arrived expecting resistance, maybe even mockery. Instead, they were welcomed with silence and sharp eyes. Human leaders listened as the delegates spoke of the fleet that burned worlds. They described destroyed defenses, shattered alliances, and the hopeless cries of their people. The humans did not interrupt, they did not panic, they simply sat and listened. Their faces gave nothing away. Only their eyes moved, watching, calculating, like predators waiting for the right moment. The delegates left the meeting unsure of what they had seen. Was Earth ignoring the danger? Or were they preparing something? None could imagine. Whispers of Earth grew louder. Some races clung to it as hope, others feared it. They remembered that humans came from a death world, a planet of storms, predators, and endless challenges, a place where survival was carved into every breath. If humans could endure their own world, what might they unleash upon others? Merchants in hidden ports spoke of strange weapons being moved in secret. They swore they saw massive ships traveling in the dark, built without council oversight. Soldiers in old wars recalled moments when human soldiers stood their ground even. When facing certain death, their commanders had called them dangerous allies, unpredictable but unstoppable. And yet, nothing was confirmed. Earth remained silent. No fleet appeared. No declaration was made. They waited, watching the galaxy panic, waiting as the enemy fleet advanced. To the frightened worlds, this silence was unbearable. Some thought Earth had abandoned them. Others thought Earth was laughing at their fear. But in the hearts of a few, a deeper thought took root. What if Earth was not silent out of weakness, but because they were preparing? What if the humans were waiting for the perfect moment to reveal their hand? That idea, once foolish, now burned like a hidden flame. The enemy fleet moved closer. Systems fell one by one. Every day, new cries for help reached the council. Every day, the whispers of Earth grew stronger. Whole planets pinned their last hopes on a world that had not yet spoken. One alien child, holding her mother's hand on a refugee ship, whispered softly, "The humans will come." Her voice carried through the frightened crowd, and for a moment, people smiled. For a moment, they believed the galaxy did not know the truth. They only had whispers, but whispers can be powerful. Whispers can turn fear into hope, and in the shadow of the coming storm, one name echoed again and again across the stars: Earth. The call for help. The council could no longer hide its weakness. Every day, new star systems fell. Every day, the enemy fleet moved closer. Entire sectors once filled with trade, laughter, and life were now empty graves in space. The galaxy was running out of time. Finally, a decision was made. They would send a call for help to Earth. It was not a decision of pride. It was a decision of desperation. The Council had mocked humans before. They had dismissed Earth as weak, too small, too inexperienced. Yet now they whispered that maybe, just maybe, the humans could be their last chance. The envoys chosen to carry the message were not volunteers. They were desperate men and women. Their ships were old, their crews weary. They knew the path to Earth was dangerous, but they also knew they had nothing left to lose. As the envoys left the Council station, every eye in the chamber followed them. Silent prayers, bitter doubts, and fragile hope traveled with them. The journey was not easy. The enemy fleet had already spread deep into nearby sectors. Patrols hunted like wolves through space looking for stragglers. The envoys had to move in shadows, slipping between dead worlds and broken satellites. They traveled through asteroid fields, hiding their signals, hoping the enemy would not notice. Them inside the envoy ship, fear was heavy. The crew spoke little. Each carried the weight of their destroyed homes. Each carried the faces of family lost to the flames. They wondered if Earth would even listen. They wondered if this long journey would end in silence or worse, rejection. After weeks of travel, the envoy ships reached the edge of Sol, Earth's home system. They expected to see defenses, fleets, and stations guarding the way. Instead, they saw nothing. The system looked quiet, too quiet. To their eyes it seemed fragile, as if anyone could crush it with a single strike. Still, they pressed forward. They entered orbit around the blue planet called Earth. From above, it looked beautiful and calm. Green lands, blue oceans, and bright cities shining against the dark. It did not look like the home of warriors. It looked like a dream world, untouched by fear, untouched by war. The envoys were brought down to the surface, escorted to a chamber deep inside a human stronghold. There they met human leaders. The humans wore no grand armor. They carried no glowing staffs or crowns of power. They looked simple, ordinary, yet there was something in their eyes. Sharp, watchful, calculating. The envoys spoke with trembling voices. They told the humans everything. They described the endless fleet that devoured worlds, the colonies already lost, the armies that had broken like sand before the storm. They begged, pleaded, their voices breaking with desperation. The humans listened in silence, not one word, not one interruption. Only their eyes moved, following every detail. When the envoys finished, the chamber was quiet. The air felt heavy. One envoy fell to his knees, his voice cracked. "Please, we have no one left. If you do not help, the galaxy will burn. Our people will be gone. Our children will have no future. We beg you, humans of Earth, save us." The human leaders did not respond right away. Instead, they looked at one another, their faces calm. Their silence felt longer than eternity. Finally, one human spoke. His voice was steady, quiet, but filled with weight. "We have heard your call." The envoys waited, hearts pounding, hoping for a promise. Instead, the humans stood and left the chamber, leaving the envoys behind. Confusion filled the alien delegates. Was this rejection? Was this mockery? Did humans not care at all? But the humans were not mocking nor rejecting. They were deciding. They were weighing the cost. They were considering the war that had already reached the stars. Outside the chamber, human commanders gathered in secret. Maps of space lit up on their tables. Red marks of fallen systems glowed. Blue markers of human fleets shifted quietly. The envoys did not know, but Earth had already been preparing. For years, humans had built fleets in silence, hiding them beyond the edge of their system. For years, they had trained armies, tested weapons, and forged machines of war in secret stations. Humanity had not been sleeping. Humanity had been waiting. Back. Inside the envoy chamber, silence stretched. One envoy began to weep, believing their mission had failed. Another stared out the window at Earth's calm sky, whispering, "Perhaps they are not what we thought." And yet, in the dark halls of Earth's command centers, decisions were already being made. Orders were sent across encrypted channels. Silent shipyards roared to life. Hidden fleets stirred. In their docks, the dangerous army of Earth began to wake. The envoys still did not know. They waited in fear, their hope fading. But soon they would see what no alien had seen before. They would see humanity rise, and when humanity rose, the galaxy would never be the same again. The first arrival. The galaxy thought it had seen the end. Entire systems burned, colonies abandoned, armies scattered like leaves in the wind. The enemy fleet swept forward without pause, devouring everything in its path. Each day another world fell, and each day the whispers of Earth grew louder. Yet still, Earth remained silent. On the council stations, despair ruled. Leaders shouted at one another, demanding answers that never came. Some cursed Earth, calling humans cowards. Others begged for patience, hoping the silence meant something greater. But hope was fragile, and every new report of destruction broke it further. Then came the day when the galaxy saw something it could not believe. At the edge of a burning sector, just as the enemy fleet prepared to strike another helpless colony, a small group of ships appeared. They were not alien ships. Their design was strange, sharp and unfamiliar to most eyes. Their banners carried one word: Earth. At first the galaxy laughed. Only one fleet had come, a single Terran force, no more than a few dozen ships against thousands. It looked foolish, even suicidal. Some believed the humans had lost their minds, others thought it was only a distraction, doomed to fail. But the laughter ended quickly. The human fleet moved in silence. Their formation was perfect. Their ships bristled with weapons the galaxy had never seen. They did not hesitate, they did not pause, they struck. The first volley of fire lit the void. Human dreadnoughts unleashed energy beams that cut through enemy cruisers like paper. Weapons the galaxy had no name for tore through shields thought to be unbreakable. Where alien fleets had fallen in minutes, the humans held. Where others had run, the humans advanced. The colony below watched in awe. Families huddled in fear as the skies above burned with battle. They expected to see another slaughter. Instead, they saw enemy ships exploding one after another. For the first time in months, the people saw the enemy retreat. The council chambers erupted. The delegates could not believe what they were seeing. Reports poured in. Enemy fleets destroyed, human ships still standing. In disbelief, one elder alien whispered, "This is only one fleet." The words spread like fire. One fleet had done what thousands could not. The enemy, shocked by resistance, pulled back to regroup. But humans did not give them time. They pressed forward, chasing them into the dark. Each battle revealed more of their hidden power. Human ships shifted tactics faster than the enemy could respond. Human captains fought with a calm fury, never breaking, never slowing. Refugee ships hiding in nearby asteroid belts sent frantic messages across the stars. "The humans are fighting," they cried. "The humans are winning." The whispers of Earth were no longer whispers. They were shouts of hope carried through the void. On distant worlds, children cheered when the news arrived. Families lit fires and sang songs, believing. The tide had turned. Soldiers who had lost all courage stood taller. Their voices rang with new determination. If one fleet could hold the enemy, perhaps there was still a chance. Yet behind the awe, fear also grew. If one Terran fleet was this strong, how much more was Earth hiding? What else lay sleeping in the dark? The galaxy had begged for help, but now they wondered what kind of help they had invited. Back on Earth, the humans watched carefully. Their commanders studied every detail of the battle. Not with excitement, but with calculation. To them, this was not the war. This was only the first test, and the test had gone exactly as planned. In the enemy's dark war chambers, rage burned. They had not expected resistance. They had not expected losses. For the first time since their advance began, they faced an enemy they could not crush instantly. Their leaders hissed and shouted, demanding the Terrans be destroyed, demanding their world be broken into dust. The humans did not fear their anger. They had waited too long for this moment. They had prepared in silence, hiding their strength while the galaxy mocked them. And now, with one fleet, they had shown a glimpse of what lay beneath their quiet surface. The colony that had been marked for destruction sent a single message to Earth, a message filled with tears and gratitude. "You saved us," they said. Simple words, but powerful. For that colony had been abandoned by all others, and yet the humans came. In the shadows of the stars, the first arrival of Earth's fleet became a legend, a story told across refugee camps, across broken ships, across dying worlds. One fleet had made the galaxy tremble with fear, but Earth's fleet made it tremble again with awe, and though the galaxy cheered, the humans did not celebrate. They only prepared, because this was not the end. This was the beginning. The unveiling of power. The galaxy could not stop talking about the first battle. News spread faster than light. One Terran fleet had stood against the storm and lived. One Terran fleet had broken the unstoppable advance. For months, the galaxy had only known fear. Now they tasted something new, hope. But the humans were not finished. To the galaxy, that one fleet was everything. To humanity, it was only the beginning. In hidden stations and secret shipyards far beyond the eyes of the Council, the true Terran strength was waking. The envoys who had begged for help were still on Earth. They walked through human strongholds. They saw strange machines rolling through vast hangars, dreadnoughts larger than cities, carriers bristling with weapons, and sleek destroyers with black hulls designed for stealth. The scale was overwhelming. It felt as if Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. One envoy whispered in shock, "How did they hide this?" Another answered with trembling voice, "They were never weak. They only waited." The truth struck them hard. Humanity had never been helpless. They had chosen silence, they had chosen secrecy, and now the secret was breaking free. When the second Terran fleet launched, the galaxy held its breath. Unlike the first, this was no small strike group. It was an armada, a river of steel and fire pouring into the stars. Thousands of ships moved, in perfect formation, each one armed with weapons the galaxy had no name for. The enemy met them head-on, confident that more numbers would crush the humans. But the Terrans fought differently. Alien fleets had always depended on size and numbers. The humans depended on precision, calculation, and fury. Their dreadnoughts unleashed rail cannons that fired projectiles at impossible speeds, tearing through enemy cruisers like they were nothing. Their carriers launched swarms of drones that fought like wolves, fast and merciless. Their frigates moved with such speed that enemy sensors could barely track them. Every tactic the enemy tried failed. Every trap was broken. Every counterstrike shattered. The galaxy watched in silence, unable to look away. The humans were not just surviving. They were dominating. Across the stars, reports of the battles filled the airwaves. On refugee ships, survivors listened with wide eyes. "The humans are winning," they whispered. Soldiers on broken worlds gripped their weapons again. Leaders who had already written surrender orders tore them apart. Hope was rising again, but it was mixed with fear. For the first time, the galaxy saw the dangerous side of humanity. They fought with intelligence, with skill, but also with something darker. They did not show mercy, they did not spare. Every enemy ship destroyed was turned into a warning. Every victory was absolute. The humans were not just fighting to defend, they were fighting to end. In council chambers, alien leaders argued once more. Some cheered Earth, calling them saviors. Others trembled, asking what would happen when the enemy was gone. Would the Terran fleet stop, or would their dangerous power turn on the galaxy next? The envoys saw the truth more clearly. They had begged for help and humanity had answered. But what they had awoken was not simply an ally. It was a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. Humanity had revealed itself, and it was terrifying in the void. The enemy tried one last desperate push. They gathered the largest fleet yet, a swarm of ships stretching across entire sectors. They moved like a wall of fire, certain that this time the humans could not stand. The galaxy held its breath. Then the Terrans unveiled their greatest weapon. Colossal dreadnoughts, each one the size of a city, emerged from hidden slipspace gates. Their cannons lit the stars with fire brighter than suns. One shot could vaporize an enemy battleship. Entire formations collapsed before the Terran advance. The enemy's confidence turned into chaos. Alien commanders watching the battle could not believe their eyes. One whispered in awe, "This is not war. This is annihilation." And in truth it was. The humans did not just fight battles. They ended them. Swiftly, brutally, completely. The galaxy trembled again. Not from fear of the enemy fleet, but from the power of Earth. The secret was out. Humanity had not been weak. Humanity had been waiting, and now the waiting was over. On broken worlds, survivors raised their voices in gratitude. They called humans saviors, defenders, guardians of the galaxy. But in darker corners, some whispered a different word, conquerors, for when humanity unveiled its power, it changed everything. The balance of the galaxy was gone. The enemy was no longer the greatest threat. Now every race looked to Earth, wondering, fearing, asking, what will the humans do next? The dangerous army. The galaxy thought it had seen everything when the first Terran fleets arrived. But what came next shook them to the core. Humanity did not stop with one fleet, nor two, nor three. From hidden shipyards across dark space, more and more Terran vessels emerged, a tide of steel and fire unlike anything the stars had ever known. Alien eyes widened as massive convoys appeared from slipspace. Entire armadas revealed themselves in perfect formation. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and ships so large, they looked like floating cities. The humans had built them in silence, in shadows, waiting for the right moment. Now the moment had come and the galaxy trembled again. The refugees who once whispered Earth's name now shouted it in awe. "The humans have an army," they cried. "A dangerous army." What was once rumor was now undeniable. Humanity had not been weak. Humanity had been preparing for war, preparing for survival, preparing for domination. The enemy fleet tried to adapt. They gathered more ships, reforged their lines, poured everything into breaking the Terran advance. But each time they struck, the humans were stronger, faster, deadlier. Terran fleets moved like hunters, never wasting a shot, never giving ground. Entire enemy formations collapsed in minutes. The council chambers were filled with chaos. Delegates argued louder than ever. Some praised humanity as saviors, shouting that without them the galaxy would already be ash. Others shook with fear, whispering that this dangerous army could just as easily turn against them. For the first time, the galaxy realized the truth. Earth was no longer just a planet. Earth was a power. On the battlefield, human soldiers fought with the same fire as their fleets. Drop pods rained onto enemy-held worlds. Each pod carried warriors clad in armor that shimmered like steel and fire. They fought with blades, rifles, and weapons alien eyes had never seen. They did not break. They did not surrender. They advanced until nothing remained standing. Alien soldiers who once mocked humans now stood beside them, watching in disbelief. They had seen humans fight in small skirmishes before, but never like this. Now they fought like storms given flesh, precise, merciless, unstoppable. One alien captain whispered, "This is not an army. This is a force of nature." And humanity did not fight alone. The smaller races, inspired by Terran victories, rallied to their side. Broken fleets repaired their ships and joined the human armadas. Soldiers who had lost all courage now carried Terran banners into battle. For the first time, the galaxy was united, but it was united under Earth. The enemy began to falter. Fear spread through their ranks. For the first time since their conquest began, they retreated. Terran fleets chased them across burning sectors, never slowing, never showing mercy. Humanity's dangerous army was not just defending, it was reshaping the war. On ruined colonies, survivors cheered as Terran dropships landed. They cried, hugged, and called the humans saviors. But in their cheers was also fear. The humans did not look like gentle liberators. They looked like conquerors wrapped in the skin of protectors. Reports spread of human weapons that could destroy entire moons, of dreadnoughts armed with cannons so powerful they could tear a planet's crust apart. Some whispered that humanity was holding back, that what they had shown was only a fraction of their true strength. If that was true, then Earth was more dangerous than anyone could imagine. In secret halls, alien leaders whispered of the future. Yes, they saved us, one said. But what happens when they no longer need us? Another answered with shaking hands. Then the galaxy will tremble again, but this time it will tremble before Earth. Back on Earth, the commanders watched the battles with calm eyes. Their fleets crushed the enemy again and again. But their voices did not celebrate. They spoke only of the next step, the next strike. Humanity had no intention of stopping until the war was finished, until the enemy was erased. The galaxy had begged for help, and help had come. But what had arrived was not just a fleet, not just an army. It was something far greater, a dangerous force born from survival, forged in silence and unleashed in fury. And as Terran banners spread across the stars, one truth became clear to all. The enemy had created this moment, but the galaxy would never forget it. Humanity had risen. Humanity had shown its dangerous army, and nothing would ever be the same again. Victory and fear. The final battle began in silence. The stars were dark, the void cold, and the enemy fleet stretched across the horizon like a black sea. Their numbers were endless, their ships filled with fury and desperation. This was their last stand, the final attempt to crush the humans. Then the Terran armadas arrived. Wave after wave of ships poured from slipspace, their banners glowing with the symbol of Earth. Dreadnoughts larger than mountains, carriers bristling with weapons, destroyers moving like predators through the dark. It was no longer a fleet. It was a storm. The galaxy watched from every corner. Refugees huddled around old screens. Soldiers gripped their rifles with trembling hands. Leaders sat frozen in silence. Everyone knew this battle would decide everything. If humanity fell, so would all. If humanity won, then the galaxy would be saved. The enemy struck first. Thousands of weapons fired at once. Beams of fire and storms of plasma filled the void. The sky itself seemed to tear apart. But the Terran fleets did not break. Their shields held, their formations stayed strong. With perfect coordination, they answered back. The first human volley shattered entire squadrons. Enemy battleships exploded in bursts of fire. Cruisers vanished in storms of railgun rounds. Terran drones swarmed through enemy lines, cutting them apart like wolves tearing through prey. Every second the enemy lost ground, but the humans did not stop. They pressed forward, pushing deeper. Their ships advanced like a tide of steel, unstoppable, merciless. The enemy, once feared, across the stars, was now the one trembling. Their commanders shouted in panic, their fleets broke formation, fear spread through their ranks like fire. On the ground, the war was no less fierce. Human drop pods rained down on enemy-held worlds. Soldiers in armor of black and silver stormed across burning landscapes. They fought with precision, moving as one. Their weapons tore through enemy lines, leaving nothing standing. Alien soldiers, who once doubted humans, now followed them. Their voices rose in shouts of courage, their eyes burned with new hope. The galaxy had never seen such unity, and at its heart was Earth. Humanity led not with promises but with strength, not with words but with action. The battle raged for days. The stars themselves seemed to shake under the fury, but slowly, steadily, the enemy's numbers thinned. Their once endless armada became scattered, broken, weak. At last the final enemy dreadnought exploded in silence, its wreckage drifting through the void like a tombstone. The war was over. The enemy was gone. The galaxy was saved. Across 1,000 worlds, voices cried with joy. Families wept in relief. Soldiers dropped their weapons and lifted their heads to the sky. For the first time in years, there was peace. But in that peace, a new fear began to grow. For while the enemy was gone, the humans remained. The galaxy remembered the sight of Earth's dangerous army. They remembered how easily Terran fleets had crushed what once seemed unstoppable. They remembered the cold, merciless precision with which humanity fought. In council halls, leaders whispered in fear. If one fleet could make us tremble, they said, what will all their fleets do now? Some argued that humans were saviors, that they had given the galaxy back its future. Others warned that saviors could become rulers, that gratitude could turn into chains. On distant worlds, children called humans heroes. They played games, pretending to be Terran soldiers, shouting in joy as they pretended to drive back the enemy. But their parents watched with unease, remembering how dangerous those soldiers had looked, remembering how terrifying their fleets had been. The envoys who had once begged for Earth's help now carried a different burden. They had seen the secret shipyards, the endless fleets, the silent preparations. They knew that humanity had not shown everything. They knew that what the galaxy had seen was only the beginning. Back on Earth, the commanders stood in silence. They looked at maps filled with wreckage, at reports of victories. They did not cheer, they did not celebrate, they simply nodded, as if everything had gone according to plan. To them, this was not glory, it was duty. The galaxy owed its survival to Earth, yet the galaxy also feared Earth more than ever, for humanity had revealed its true nature, not weak, not helpless, but powerful, dangerous, unstoppable. And once that truth was seen, it could never be forgotten. In the dark quiet of the stars, the question echoed again, a question that no one dared speak aloud. If humanity had the power to save the galaxy, then what else could they do? And if one day they chose to turn that power on the galaxy itself, who could possibly stop them?